We've been bouncing around really quick. One of my favorite tools is the history homepage. I'm just going to show you real quick. I'm going to go home. We can either click on today or on this one that says history and reports. But guess what we're going to pop in here? POs. I've made 2 of them. I've had 2 of them. I've got a couple of them that were marked paid. And here's the PO payments as well. Like it's tracking everything. As soon as you put it into the system, it automatically shows up for what we call roll call. So that's very important. So I'm technically not doing any accounting other than just doing my stuff, but it's already like, oh, got it. Like crisscross, double cross, all those little type of things. So that's one of the fun pieces of that. Okay, what I wanted to show you next was let's actually do a, so we entered those items under ourselves correctly. So what if we actually, let's make a scenario right here. What if we actually wanted to go to Sam's Club and get some of those same items? You want to see how we do that?
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that it showed up that that's where we bought it from. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. So I really want to, I have to physically pay Sam's Club or something, okay? So instead of doing a live PO, I'm going to do a special live PO because it allows me to mix with some vendors, okay? This is just a small little twist, but basically POs have about 6 options that you can do. You can do live, you can do request, which is kind of like just an order status. You can mix vendors, you can do updates, and you can do builds. So what we're going to do is basically, let's just go see if we have Sam's Club in here, okay? I've got a Jim Sam. That's not quite, quite who I'm looking. So I'm going to quick add a vendor, and I'm just going to say Sam's Club. And I'm just going to say anywhere. And it happens to be a little one that says any state. I know that that's not really a state, but it kind of just makes it a generic little thing. We enter a quick little zip code in, and we'll pop down through here. Add the payee. Okay, so boom, he just got added. Now I'm going to create a PO. If I click here, instead of doing it a basic live vendor specific, watch this. This is who I'm going to end up paying. But I want to add some items that I told him that were generic, okay? So bulk or generic items. So I switched the PO type here. If you're a reader, this is a great help file. If you're doing POs, and there's a section in here that actually completely talks about the PO types. What's a basic live? What's a special live? What's an update? What's an internal build? This particular page has some great information if you really want to get into POs. And you can just access it right from this page, the Add Edit PO page. So I switched it to special because I'm going to now be mixing vendors. I'm buying from Sam's Club, but I want to use a part number that's under vendor ourselves. Does that make sense how I'm going to be splitting a vendor? Okay, so I'm going to say candy again. This is very simple. You can do up to 255 characters, so if you wanted to be pretty detailed, you could knock yourself out and go crazy. What's the PO amount?
$100.
Another $100? Okay, great. And just for fun, let's actually put in an external invoice number. Say that they gave me one, and say it was P17-33309, just for fun, okay? And I'm going to say, yes, I do have these items. Say add the PO. Now you'll notice that I actually, on my search, instead of just having a plain search, I have a vendor as well. It's kind of like, hey, I can tell that you are in a special PO, which actually basically says, right here, let me find it. It's called PO type, special live. Okay? Special live says you need to select the vendor. So I'm going to basically come here, and then I'm going to go Snickers. Does that make sense? Because I don't want to add Snickers under Sam's Club. I want Snickers under its generic. So once again, the difference is you can have generic, which means you put it under one vendor originally, but then eventually any other vendor is going to use that same part. This is common for like ingredients. Cheryl, you like to cook. So instead of having flour from Sam's Club and flour from here, you would say flour. Okay? Anything that you're going to put into a bowl or a bin or you don't even care, it's generic. If it's vendor specific, then you're like, oh. Like say for instance you had a specific thing that you did for cooking or something, like
A special flavoring, like
Honeyville almond flour.
yes. If it was very special like that, then you would make it vendor specific. Okay, but otherwise, if you want to use a homogeneous product, you would do something like this. So I'm going to go like this. I want to see checking ourselves Snickers. Even though we're in a Sam's Club PO here, if I search it, what ends up happening is, oh yeah, here's our company name, whatever it might be, and here's Snickers, and I can say, yep, let's add that. And let's say we have another 100 of them. Okay. Pulls it in. If I want to change anything, okay, because I'm on the PO portion right here, I'm in the line items for the PO. This description does not affect the master. It's just for this particular PO. Okay, so watch this right here. If I click Add Items, click. Even though it physically hit my description right here, the actual piece doesn't know anything about that. See how the main piece didn't change? They're kind of somewhat separated. Okay, so now basically we pulled in ourselves vendor products under a Sam's Club PO. Does that make sense how we're kind of starting to mix and match? You can't do that on a basic live. You have to do a special live. All of a sudden, oh, okay, we'll let you mix and match vendors. That makes sense. So let's satisfy the rest of this PO. Let's go ahead and say ourselves, and we'll grab M&Ms. So grab a few little things. I'm going to say, yep, that's the one I'm looking for. We got 100 of those. Piece of cake. If you wanted to modify it, you could, and say add the items. So now at this point, I no longer have a flag here by my main amount, and I no longer have a flag here, so I'm technically good to go. If I wanted to, I could even verify this thing right from here. Click Verify, click on the little checkbox, click Verify, and it's instantly ready. So from the PO homepage, we've done a couple of them, okay? We had a couple coming in here, and then one specifically from Sam's Club. Because this one has a different vendor, if I actually go to my payables homepage, it'll actually be under Sam's Club. Here's the $100, even though it's technically these generic products that we've used over and over again. Okay, why don't you, Ray, you still with us?
Sandy is joined as well.
Okay, great. What we've been covering right now is basically homogeneous products and kind of creating our own little thing. And I think what we'd like to do is actually move into like vendor-specific products so you can kind of see it, or even into like a service item so that we can kind of see how unlimited would be. Another thing that's kind of cool is once you get your products in, I'm a huge quick search fan. So if you wanted to actually go find it, you could go like this. Product, Snickers, or even a part of it, hit go, it pulls it up and automatically tells me how many I have. I have 275 now. Like we've been kind of pounding in a bunch of those things. If I needed to see the usage or the history, I can click on usage and it automatically tells me, okay, where did these things come from? Where are they playing? Where were they sold? It's pretty cool too, like once they're in there, you can actually sell them. So say somebody came and wanted to actually buy 20 of these things. I could say, sweet, let's add it to the cart. And we're just going to do a quick counter sale. Say start the cart. Boom. Pulls it in 20 at 87 cents. Looks like they owe me a total of $18.60 by the time they get some tax. And then you can just hit checkout. It could be that quick. And say they paid cash. Create the invoice. Click. So here's the invoice. It now has the Snickers going out, 20 of them. The thing that I want to show you here is that as soon as you start having POs and invoices, you start mixing and blending, all of a sudden your usage starts saying, oh, okay, where did this actually get used at? So if I go back to Snickers and I hit usage now, it'll actually tell me that my total quantity is way less, okay? I now have 255, and I can now come down here and actually say, oh, invoice this. Here's my POs, and it shows me ins and outs. You can search this thing as well. Like if you needed to go backwards or forwards, it'll keep growing depending on what you're doing, but it does go backwards. Okay. Let's create a service. How about that? You guys okay if we create a service? Okay. So if we sell candy, what would a service possibly be? Or what would an item be?
Oh, how about gift wrapping?
Okay. So say we charge a little bit for gift wrapping. Alrighty. So here's what we would do. Basically, what we would do is we'd say, hey, I'm going to start with the vendor again, and I'm going to put it under ourselves, because that was the particular vendor that I created. This is the name of your company. Just for training, we put it under ourselves, but we'd say create a PO. Okay? It remembered that I was under special live, but I'm actually going to change that to the basic live right here. And we're just going to kind of do some setup here. Setup of special items. Okay? And I'm going to say, yep, I have received it. It's going to totally be a zero amount, but I'm just going to say add the PO. And now I'm going to say gift wrap. I'll say, hey, wow, I didn't find it. This is actually a good error message. You say, no problem, let's add it. I'm going to leave it at 0. This is the main thing. The difference between an item and a service or a labor is this. Click. Special product, don't monitor quantities. I'm going to use this tons, unlimited. Okay? So then you basically would need to collect your category. We don't have the piece that I really want in here. This would be kind of like a service, but I'm just going to put it under basic, or I could put it under candy. And then we'd say, is that how you spell gift wrapping?
Mm-hmm.
So here's the difference. The product name is called gift wrap. And maybe I'll even go like this just to take that out. But it's going to actually say gift wrapping under the description. Okay? And the cost is 0 to us. How much is this going to be? Just normal. Say an average gift wrapping.
$3.
Okay, perfect. So you just go 3 and say, hey, I want this to be a solid price, solid price. And this is you probably wouldn't tax this. This is kind of like a labor type thing, okay? So you change the tax category, and we're just going to go ahead and add the product. So at this point, we used a PO, but basically just to create a placeholder called gift wrap. Okay, you want to see me use that in an invoice now? Okay, perfect. We're going to go right here. We're going to say invoice, type new, and we're going to say counter sale. That's perfect, no problem. Okay, so it's ready for me to search. Let's do some M&Ms. How many M&Ms do we want to get? I'm going to actually limit that down just a little bit. So, okay, how many M&Ms?
10.
10, okay. So here's my 10 M&Ms. What else do I want to sell? I know I have some Snickers in there. Should I grab some Snickers?
Sure.
Okay, and how many of those do we want?
5.
5. Okay, so it looks like right now, this is what we've got. Oh, would you like that gift wrapped?
Yes, I would. Birthday, please.
Okay, great. So, hang on just a second. I'm going to hit back. My mouse started clicking on other things. Pretend that I'm right here and I just hit gift and then hit search. My mouse was going all over. I apologize that. So here's this. Notice this little piece right here. This is interesting. Instead of showing me a quantity, it says unlimited. And by default, it's $3. If I wanted to, and if I have this permission turned on, this is called the advanced add to cart. If I just hit add right now, it'll say $3 and pull it in with the standard description. I'll show it to you, okay? Click. Here's your gift wrapping. It pulled it under labor, so it has 0 cost or price. If I needed to, I could actually come in here and edit it as well and kind of be like, say you weren't going to be picking this up right now. So I could actually add that in there with no problem. It doesn't hurt the original. And then I just say update the cart. So now it basically says, hey, gift wrap birthday. Okay. So basically, here's my whole thing. I could then check out and do it. We lightly were headed towards a thing called advanced add to cart. Would you like to see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sure.
Why watch this right here. Let's pretend that I wanted to remove this gift wrapping. So I click here and I say update the cart, which makes it stick. Basically, I'm back down to just my M&Ms and Snickers, and now I'm going to retype in the word gift or a portion of it. This right here is a permission. You have to turn it on. Okay, this is called advanced add to cart, and I basically can turn it on. What it does is it opens up all the fields from the get-go. And so right here it says auto-calc is turned off. If this thing was turned on, this is a setting. These are all kind of corp-wide settings that you can set it up. But what it does is it allows you to do things. Watch something like this. How much do you want to charge for this particular gift wrapping? Maybe it's a custom job and you're going to be doing a bunch of stuff. Let's say $10. Okay? Say it's $10, and you can come down here, and instead of saying gift wrapping, it's still tied to the actual part called gift wrap, but I could come in here and say special birthday
Superhero.
Okay, whatever I wanted to do there, okay, no problem. In order for me to get this button to actually show, I have to do this. And what this does is it actually turns on this little calculator up here. So what this technically does is as you play with things and as you move through the fields, it technically modifies things. So like on the fly, it's literally kind of going in here and figuring, and like you can figure deals, you can back figure deals, you can do all sorts of cool things with this advanced add to cart. But it's we use it in Adilas all the time. So say we're billing out a monthly, and we have a set fee. Say it's $97 for a monthly fee. Well, we'll say add a new monthly, advanced add to cart. Okay, what do I want to change this for? Oh, this is for a mom and pop. I'm gonna change it to 47, or I'm gonna do whatever.
Sandy wants to know, what if you wanted to give the gift wrap away for free?
Great. So, Sandy, if you wanted to give away the gift wrap for free, you could go like this: quantity 1 at $0, and you say add it to the cart. Okay. So basically, instead of the $3 that normally was, we just basically changed it to 0. Because it's unlimited, we could use it again and again and again, but it technically shows up on that invoice, so we could be like, how many times did I actually do that? And you could actually pull a report that basically said, hey, how many times did I use that? So that's where it gets kind of interesting. That's a great question. It's a great question. Certain people do certain things, and because it's a service, there's no cost associated with it. And so we created this thing that was usable again and again. I'm going to hit checkout right here, just for fun, so we have an invoice to do it. I'm going to say it was cash again, just for real quick. But here's the cool thing that's kind of interesting. If I'm actually on my invoice homepage, and let me just see if I can get there really quick. So invoice homepage, there's lots of different ways around the board, but if I'm on my invoice homepage and I wanted to do an advanced search, I could come down to just the line items portion, and I could actually come down here where it actually says product number, and I could go, I want everything that was under gift wrap. What have we got here? And it could start actually telling me exactly what those pieces were. So you could do this for promotions, you could do it any sales, services, labors, like that's how you create the special thing. I'm going to review just really quick as far as how we did this gift wrap one. From the home page, here's how we did it. We basically started at vendor, but you can start from PO as well. It doesn't matter. And we actually said, hey, let's go find our own vendor, because this is where we are doing the product, okay? We then were under create PO, click. We went clear through that process, and then we created and added those pieces. What I'm going to do right now is actually just show you the key portion of that product gift. Go get it. We're going to hit edit. The main key to the difference between a quantity and an unquantity is right here. It's called, this one happens to say product type. This is actually changeable. This is a corp-wide setting. And so where it says prod type, it could be part type, it could be widget type, it could be supply type. Like you're able to change these words. So right now, because this particular play site that we're working on, I have things set up as called products. By default, they're called parts. Okay, so watch this. You may not have an option to switch corporation, but I want to just show you this right here. I'm going to switch to Adilas because we do not call it products. We call it something different. and I'm going to go to something like this. We call it item, and I'm going to go to monthly. Okay, so it brings up a few of our different little options here. If I come over here and I find, okay, online service right over here, and I hit edit. So instead of it saying right here prod type, ours says item type. I just wanted to show you that it's very flexible as far as how it switches and changes and what's actually going on. But we would create the exact same thing. This is an unlimited item, and then we just are able to modify it. So if I were to show you real quick how we were talking about price, it looks like our current sales price is actually set at 0. So we don't even have one as a default, and then we go in and we modify it. So Ray, he's on the line here as well, and at Tubes and Hoses, he has one called Custom Hoses. That's kind of an unlimited thing. And so what he'll do is if somebody says they want a custom hose, he'll basically say, that's $250. He'll pull the number virtually out of the air, assign it to custom hose, and then that one's visible, and then he'll go in there and he'll build a whole bunch of stuff and make them hidden to kind of get to that value of his 250. So basically it's smoke and mirrors if you're to that level, but Adilas is totally capable of doing it. Alrighty, I'm going to switch back to the playground real quick. And once again, if you see all of these different little corporations you're able to switch to, those are ones that I have permissions into. And so if you don't have that and you're just a single user on your own system, you'll never see anything else. You literally have to think of it as a fenced-in area. So we created three parts. We did Snickers, M&Ms, and gift wrapping. What other ways would you like to see items coming into the system? This is coming in. And then to sell them, it all runs through the shopping cart, either quoting or invoicing. Any questions?
Well, I guess I just have this, maybe this is just way beyond, but if I'm gift wrapping, I literally had to buy the gift wrap, so I assume it's in my inventory. So how am I expensing that out? Am I sending it out to me as a customer?
Okay, so that's a great question. And usually if you have stuff like that, if you want to track it, you have to figure out, am I tracking in and am I tracking out? Or am I just buying it and I'm expensing it off immediately and then maybe I'm tracking if I use it? Like
Okay.
there's a bunch of...
Will it be like bags or shopping bags?
Correct.
Like that?
So what you could technically do if you really wanted to track that, ideally the easiest way to do it is expense it right off the bat. Okay, so you create an expense receipt to Uline, which is a big product. You can get all sorts of stuff. Okay, I got bags and ties and labels and this and this and this, and you send it right to your income statement, and it automatically hits expenses. Okay.
Okay.
And you can map it either to cost of goods sold or to expenses.
Okay.
But if I physically was pulling it in, I would almost have to pull it in as a supply, and then I'd have to sell it as a supply. Like, it depends on where you want your, it depends on what you're really trying to track is what it kind of comes down to. So
Yeah.
This is a related question.
Okay,
to what
okay.
you just answered. Same kind of thing. What would you do with bags of ice, where they make the ice and only buy the bags? So it seems like a similar.
Okay, great. So what happens there is basically they make the ice, but they buy the bags,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're wanting to expense the bags off, or what are they wanting to do?
Or you want to sell the bags with the ice, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they put the ice into the bags.
Okay, so basically what you would do is this is actually what I would call miniature manufacturing. Okay, even though you don't have the assembly line, if you have bags and you have ice and you're putting them together and then you want to sell them, you're technically making your own product. That's miniature manufacturing. And so what you could do is let's play for a second. Okay, what I would recommend you do is that you basically probably want to buy your bags. If you're really worried about expensing that off, you would get it from a certain company, okay? And you'd get a certain number of them. And then you would actually do some builds, and then it would actually create these bags of ice that I could actually sell if you wanted to go technically to that level. Should we play? Okay, we're going to do bags of ice. What we're going to do is, first off, we need to get the bags. And so this is going to come from a vendor, and let's just say that we're going to use Uline again, okay? So I'm just going to go U, see if it happens to be in here. I don't see it, and we'll enter it in as the vendor. And hopefully you spend more time than I am on any of these details. So we're going to call it Uline, and we're going to kind of come down here and do this. Boom. At this point, we have the vendor Uline. It now has an ID number, okay? We're going to say create a new PO because we're actually going to create a physical bag, okay? Now right here, this will kind of depend on what you're actually trying to do, but are we expensing these things off immediately, or are we quantifying them and then pulling them as we use them? Like, how do we? And it kind of gets to the accounting level, like at what level are we trying to get to?
Right now, they just expense receipt the bags.
Okay, so in order to do an expense receipt, you would go like this: create an expense receipt. Okay, bam. We do this. It comes to Uline, and ask her how much a normal bag thing would be.
$100.
Okay, perfect. So we basically come in at this point and we say $100, and then you come in here and you say bags for ice. Okay? And if you don't know the category that they go under, and ideally you would actually have them already here so that you could expense it right off, especially if you wanted to do it to like cost of goods sold or something like that, you would already have your thing. I'm going to click it on this and we can come back and create one in just a second, okay? Don't let me get away from this because I have a tendency to to keep moving. I'm just going to pull it right here. And then did we pay for this? Probably through like a Visa card because you probably ordered online, okay? And we're just going to say, now does it tie to an actual bank or yes or no, or is this a debit card? It depends, because if it wasn't, do I need to be reimbursed? Did I get it on account? Did it really come out of the bank? Like, it turns into decisions, okay? And if you just need to tell it like what it's doing. So I'm going to assume it came right out of the bank. This is a Visa debit card, okay? And if I want and I don't want to do Visa, I could actually flip it and say debit card, okay? We used a debit card, High Country Bank, it's going to come out. Add the expense. So this is the piece that we were missing, this I don't know, correct? So we're going to actually go back to that and fix it really quick. Once again, you have to have the admin permission for expense receipts. I'm on the expense receipt homepage, and there's a link right here, Add Edit Expense Types. This is your classifications, okay? We're going to come down here, and we're going to kind of take a look. Ideally, what this would be is probably a supply, okay? So I'm going to put it under supplies, and I'm going to go ahead and put, we could even just call it bags. That would be fine. Paper. Okay, any type of bag that we buy, we're going to be putting it into this can. We're creating this can. We're going to add that account. So now it technically, here, this is the success message. And if I scroll down now and if I look under supplies, I now have one called bags. Okay? So basically what I can do now is if I go back to the expense receipt homepage, the one that I just did to Uline, if I go to edit and I come down here to this I don't know, I click edit, just so you can see what's going to happen. Watch this, okay? Notice the name of the page, Edit Expense Receipt Line Items. I have main, I have line items, I have payments. Down at the bottom I have an add form, and it's currently in add mode. As soon as I click on edit, it brought me to this portion, but I'm going to scroll back up. I'm actually on the exact same page. Edit line items. Here's my main. Here's my line items. Here's my payments. But now I'm in edit mode for a particular line item. Does that make sense? So right here, instead of I don't know, you basically would come down here and say supplies, bags. Okay? And as soon as you click that, it automatically will show up on your income statement now as far as being part of that expense. And so $100 going into bags, let's go do it real quick just for fun, just to see where it's at. I went home. We're going to click on P&L. I'm going to just leave everything basically like this. Click it. We're going to scroll down. Semi-fixed, supplies, bags, $100 right here. So at any point in time, I could actually click on any of these things and it would actually show me exactly what those pieces were and how they were mapped. Okay? Boom, it says, hey, you're on expense receipt number 33. Okay? So that number doesn't mean anything unless you're trying to look something up. If you were looking something up, you could be anywhere on the site and you could basically be like this. Expense receipt 33. Oh, yeah, perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for. And I actually wanted to add a note to it. You come down here and like, you could basically do whatever you wanted, but once you know what that ID is, you're able to then kind of bounce around. That's how you get the bags and just expense it off the bat, okay? Now if you wanted to actually create bags of ice, well technically we don't care how many bags we had because we're not physically tracking those. We didn't put them into inventory. Does that make sense? We just expensed them off. So if I was going to do it, I would basically use ourselves as the vendor and call it a new thing and call it bag of ice and say I'm going to do a process and actually put 50 of them together. Here's how I would do it. I would come up here and we're technically going to be using a PO again because we need to hit inventory if we really want bags of ice that are available for sale. Okay? So I'm going to basically say vendor, and I'm going to type in the name of your company. Okay. For training, we just did ourselves, and we'd say create a PO. Great. Let's get these things in. This is live. This is really, really going to happen. Creating bags of ice. Basically, there's not really an amount per se, but we're going to just say, yes, I do have these items in my possession. Go. Once it creates my PO, I will then search. Ask Sandy how she wants to term it. Like, does she want to call it bags of ice, or what does she want to call it?
Okay. Ice is fine.
Ice. Perfect. So I'm just going to kind of put in the word ice there, and I'm going to search it to see if it exists. Before I search it, just so you know, I'm on the PO line items page. I currently have no line items and just some search options. This is the page we're going to come back to again. If I hit search, because it doesn't exist, I would just have to create it. So I'd say, sweet, we're going to create it. And this first time, it doesn't matter. I'm making a bunch of bags. How many did I say I was going to do? 50? 50 bags. Ice, this is the key piece right here. Because now, are we trying to actually say how many do I have on hand, or are we trying to say I'm going to sell ice again and again and again?
You'd have to do physical if you want to be able to sell it, right?
If you want, well, you can sell any of those. It's basically, is it a product or a service, okay? But if you wanted to have a product, how many bags of ice do I have right this second? And if you wanted to be able to look at that, you want to physically track it, okay? And so I'm going to say monitor quantities in and out, which is physical. And I'm going to kind of come down here. Sorry, Sandy, I don't have that one, but I'm basically going to just call it basic items. Bag of ice. And the cost, if you wanted to attribute a cost, you could, but basically that ends up kind of creating a small little accounting problem later. It's like, whoa, where'd this come from? Who do I owe? So what I would do is I would actually say 0 and then sell it for a certain amount. How much does she sell a bag of ice for?
$3.
Perfect. $3. So I'm going to say that's a fixed price. And here's what I have so far. I have ice as the part number, 50 is the quantity. It says bag of ice. I'm going to sell it for $3, and I would basically go from there. If they ended up doing barcode, I would probably do something like this as well. Just a super simple little barcode, and say add the product. So at this point, this PO number 50, I just loaded 50 of these ice into my thing, okay? So now in order to sell it, if I were to actually check, here, I'll just drill down into it really quick. If I click on ice, my total quantity is 50 right now, okay? To sell it, it's this quick. I could even just go like this. Select your product, hit this could be item, part, product, whatever. It's dynamic. And I just go like this. Ice. And it basically kind of pulls it in. Here's my ice. How many did I want to add to the cart? Let's just say we're going to sell 5 bags, okay? 5 bags, add to cart. Okay, and we're going to just do a quick little counter sale. Boom, pulled it in at $3 a piece at, and I was assuming taxable, but if it wasn't, we could change that. But basically, you're just able to sell things that quick. Right now, if I were to check the quantity, because this is still in cart mode, it would still say 50. Okay, so watch this real quick. If I hit edit and then I drill down into the actual price right here, customer view or full view, the difference is this. Customer view basically hides any sort of profit and cost, and full shows it. Watch, we'll just show you real quick. So customer view, here's my product, it says 50, it ends right there, okay? If I hit back and I hit full, the main difference looks the exact same, except for I get a little bit more information, okay? And that's basically like, do you want to hide or show that type of information? What I wanted to show you is it says 50 right now because technically it's still in the cart mode. We haven't checked out. As soon as we physically go to checkout and we say, yep, great, let's do it. They pay check and do it up. So at this point, as soon as it physically hits the invoice, now all of a sudden it's adjusted that. So if she wanted to see how much ice she had, she could select her product and type in ice, come right to it, and boom, 45 right there. Okay. One interesting thing while we happen to be in this particular mode, if you happen to be here and these are things that you really, really wanted to add, look at this, unlimited, 45, negative 202. Like I must have been selling part widget XYZ just for fun, but basically it'll tell you your quantities right there. If you're in this mode, this add button, it allows you to do tons of stuff. Watch this. Let's do 23 of these, 56 of these, 2 of these, and then I can hit any add button I want, and basically in my shopping cart, it'll automatically, it'll add multiple items if they happen to be relative. Like that was just kind of a for instance, if you will. But to update quantities, piece of cake. I can either go 0 and hit update cart and it'll disappear, or if I wanted to do more of a click type thing, I could go like this and say update cart. They disappear out of that cart immediately. If you like reading, and I highly recommend this, the view cart page, once you've started a cart, you're going to want to check out this help file. It actually covers clear down to the point of even how do you do discounts. This is the interface as far as like how you actually interface between customer and items that are in your system. Are you selling times, serialized inventory, widgets, services? You got to use the cart. So I would highly recommend you read this particular help file.